Hello and welcome to StratoCast, the BattleTech podcast to help you play the game. So we are going to be looking at how to design mechs in MegaMekLab using standard technology. My name's Stuart Strategos, level 3, and I help run events for the BattleTech UK South East group. So we're going to have a look then at our mech that we created last time, our Springbok SPR3R, and we are going to update it to the year 3050 to what we would call the standard technology, and we're going to add some extra bits and pieces to it. So I'm just going to go to load existing unit. So we're going to load the old mech here, and I can actually then find it on my database. It's going to be introductory, so it will actually come up now on here. There it is. And here's the mech we designed, the Springbok. And we're going to change a few things then and resave it first. So before we get into this though, let's have a little chat about the idea of custom design mechs. So there are two schools of thought, two crowds in BattleTech when it comes to having custom designs. Now the first one is what I would call the canon crowd. The canon crowd are the people that want to follow the canon of the universe, which is to limit the number of custom builds and really only use what we'd call canon or official variants of mechs. So for instance, using ones that are found in the TROs and then using those maybe to do some custom upgrades, for instance swapping out weapons, but generally using those. Now that can certainly be a good thing from a storyline point of view. Having mechs that are actually part of the history is really important, and also the designs that are done in the TROs like the Shadowhawk 2H aren't always what we would call optimized. So the Shadowhawk 2H is famous for having only 3 jump jets instead of having 5. Some people might say that that's not optimized, it could be better, and some people would say that's fine, that's part of the fluff of the unit. Then you've got, I would call the wargaming crowd. I won't call them min-max because that wouldn't be necessarily fair, but the wargamers crowd who want to see BattleTech as a platform to running anything that they want and are quite happy to design completely new custom variants. Now the reason I mention this is because basically when you get into playing BattleTech, you'll find one of these two crowds, and don't expect to turn up somewhere with your custom design mech and for people to be necessarily straight away happy for you to be playing that, especially in an event, because most events would expect you to be playing canon builds. But you know, play however way you want, and sometimes I like to run events where we have one unit that's been custom built as a prototype as quite an interesting unit. So really important message to take away from that little introduction is play BattleTech in the way that you want, but remember different play groups may play in different ways. So first we're going to take our Springbok here and we're going to upgrade it. So in one of the kind of famous BattleTech events, part of the Grey Death Legion in, I think it's like 3024 or something like that, 3025, a memory core called the Helm memory core is discovered, containing many technologies from the Star League, which was in its height at 2750. So we're going to update our date here to 3050, which is the beginning of 3045 and 4050, which is the beginning of the clan invasion. And we're going to do an updated design based on the modern technologies. Now to do that, we're going to update our tech level here to the standard tech level. Okay, so now rather than just having introductory equipment, we have any equipment that could be found in Total Warfare or any equipment that could be found in the BattleMech manual, but it has to have been released before 3050. So this date is important. This date will mean a lot to some of the equipment because some equipment might still not be available. We're going to keep the tonnage the same because it's the same chassis, the same basic mech. And then we're going to have a look at the structure, because now of course we have, in standard technology, we have some new options for structure. So we now have endosteel and endosteel prototype. Endosteel is the basic endosteel that we use in 3050. Prototype is a less good version of Endosteel that takes 2 more critical slots, which was around in the war of 3039 when Endosteel was just coming back. It's prototype Endosteel. So really, this really only comes up in 3039, in that kind of era. So we're going to have Endosteel. We might go back and look at the prototype and make a 3039 version of this later on, which is an interesting idea because there are lots of unique technologies. The engine, well, we're going to upgrade the engine. We're going to do a lot of maxing on this. We're going to put a lot of new technologies on this. So we're going to upgrade the engine. Instead of a fusion, we're going to go for an extra light fusion engine. There's also a light fusion engine, which takes up slightly less critical spaces, but we're going to use our XL fusion engine. So going back to this, the Endosteel here, the Endosteel is going to take a certain number of critical slots. It's going to take 12 critical slots. So the internal structure is 2 plus 12 critical slots for Endosteel. And then our XL engine is going to take 3 critical slots on each torso as well. And finally, the gyro, we're going to keep the gyro as it is. There are other options now. We've got extra light gyro, compact gyro, heavy duty gyro, which can take multiple hits. The cockpit, we've still only got one cockpit here. Enhancements, this is where we can add monomer, acceleration, signal circuitry, or triple strength monomer. We're not going to add that at the moment. Might come back and have a look, see if we can fit mask in later on. And we're going to upgrade to double heat sinks. So now the heat sinks is using a double. Now with heat sinks, your heat sinks are either all single or all double. You can't have a mix. The only exception to this being if you're playing like 3039 technology, where these new heat sinks called freezers were made, but those heat sinks were only mountable on the internal structure. You couldn't mount them anywhere else. You couldn't mount them on the engine. But for standard technology here, we're just going to have double heat sinks, Innosphere double. Every double heat sink is going to have 3 critical slots. So they're quite bulky. We're going to go to the equipment. We're going to overhaul the equipment. So we're going to remove 2 medium lasers and we're going to upgrade these. Now we've got a lot more options here. So I'm going to go and select only energy and we're going to go for medium pulses. And interestingly, it's letting me, so you've got all of the reintroduction dates here for the things. You've got medium X pulses here, which haven't been introduced, but started production in the Lyra and Commonwealth in 3047. So you can use those, okay, because they're new. But we're going to choose the medium pulse lasers here, okay, which were reintroduced in 3037. So I'm going to add 2 of those to replace our 2 medium lasers, and we're going to keep the SRM6 the same at the moment. Could look at changing up to a streak. Let's see how much tonnage this has taken. So I'm going to go to assign criticals. Now this becomes quite important because now we've taken up a lot of Endosteel, has taken up a lot of structure. So we can move around these Endosteel things to different places. So sometimes it's a good idea to put them on the arms or things like that to get them out of the way. We've also got 3 engine slots here on either side for our XL engine, and we want to put in our double heat sinks here because each one is going to take 3 spaces. So let's start with the medium pulse lasers. We're going to put them in the arms. There we go, 1, 2, and we're going to put our jump jet here, which has been removed for some reason, back into the torso here. So we've got these jump jets. You can reorganize these if you just want to be tidy, like that. And we're going to take our SRM6 and we'd put our SRM6 into our left torso. So I'm going to remove some of these Endosteel to get them out of the way. So I'm going to put the Endosteel into the arm. Remember, Endosteel doesn't actually count as a critical you can roll. It's just a placeholder to say how much bulk is taken up. So I'm going to put the SRM 6 back here, and put the SRM ammo back there. And again, I'll remove some of these endo steels. And usually it's better to put the weapons higher up, because that's what's going to happen when you roll. So you can reorganize these slots around. Let's just reorganize those around, drag and drop them around. And we've got our heat sinks. Now the bad thing about heat sinks here is you can't put them in the legs because there isn't enough space, because they take three each. So I'm going to move the endo steel down here and put double heatsink there, put double heatsink there, and we'll have a double heatsink. Where else can we have a double heatsink? Let's move some of the endo steel. Let's move the endo steel over here. Actually, there still isn't enough space, so let's just put it into the left arm. Okay, so there's a double heatsink there in the left arm. So you've got our heat sinks here, and just to make it, you can go through and balance things out, put endo steel in different places. Again, it's not really important where you put the endo steel. It doesn't have a game effect in the game, it's just for construction purposes. And you've also got, of course, the gyro always takes 4 criticals, the engine always takes 6 criticals. And we've got the jump jets in the same places, 2 on the left, 2 on the right, 2 in the center. Now the internal structure now that we're using endo steel only weighs half. So instead of weighing 4, it only weighs half. So we've basically got with 2 tons of savings there. We've only got 5 criticals left though. So we haven't got enough space to put ferrofibrous armor, because ferrofibrous requires another 12 critical slots, and so that would be more than we could fit. So if I click ferrofibrous, it comes up 14 slots, so 14 critical slots here, and that obviously goes over our value. So this is one of the balancing things of the game, that you can have endo steel or you can have ferrofibrous, and it's quite hard to actually get both of them at the same time. Now we could make a decision here that we don't need this number of heat sinks, and so we can go back down to 10. We have to have 10, and say 10 is going to be enough. So if we go back to the assigned criticals now, we've now got rid of 2 of our heat sinks. So we've now got 10 double heat sinks, which is 20 heat load, which is more than enough to be able to jump and fire all our weapons. And we can decide, right, we can add some more things in here. We've now got 7.5 tons left. So we can choose ferrofibrous armor, and we've got 3 critical slots over. So if I have a look on here, is there anything else that I could do to change that? Probably not. No, I don't think there's any critical slots that we could remove to give us extra space. One option is you could remove hands or lower arm actuators. That's an option. Of course, that gives you disadvantages in punching, but since we're keeping the chassis of the mech the same, we won't do that. So we'll take that back from ferrofibrous and make it standard armor. And we've got the possibility of adding mask. For instance, we could add mask here, and mask is going to increase the tonnage there by 2 tons, and we've got to put the mask onto the critical slots here. It takes 2 slots, so we're going to put those slots onto the torsos. There we go. So the mask system, if it gets hit, you can't initiate the mask system anymore. We'll put that onto the torso there. but we could decide that that isn't necessary. This is more of a jumping mech, so I'm going to take mask off and say it's more of a jumping mech. It doesn't really need mask. So we can increase the weaponry, the armor now. And we reach the maximum armor for this configuration, which is 9 tons. Okay, so 9 tons is the maximum amount of armor you can have. Let's auto allocate that. It still gives us 5 tons remaining of space which we can add. So I go back to equipment, and I can think, right, what else can we add here? We can up the medium pulse lasers, maybe to a quartet of medium pulse lasers. And think of our heat. So we've got 4, 4, 4. That's well below the 20, so I can add a couple more medium pulse lasers. Just add, and we're going to install those on the arms as well. And being mindful that we want to have 2 on each arm so we can swing our arms around. That's going to be another 2 tons. And for equipment wise, let's have a look at some other ideas. So we've got our ballistic weapons, missiles, and in missiles, let's for instance think about replacing our SRMs with streaks. So we've got SRM 6, a standard SRM 6, if I switch tables, has got a weight of 3, whereas a streak has got a weight of 1.5. So we can actually take our SRM 6 out and replace it with 1, 2, 3 streaks. Gives us half a ton left. Probably couldn't fit 3 streaks in there. Let's do it with 2 streaks. Let's remove one of those because we've got to add some ammo as well. So remove that one. And if I click on ammo, it'll only present me with the ammo that I've got. So I'm going to add 1 ton of SRM streak ammo, and I have to go back now to assign criticals and put where they're going to go. They're going to go in the same place, the left torso. And we're going to put the SRM streak ammo in the same torso here. So now the SRMs won't fire unless they get a lock, and I've got 1 ton left. So with that 1 ton, we can decide that maybe we need to add case because we've got some machine gun ammo. We want to keep the machine gun, but we don't want the machine gun exploding. So we're going to go to equipment, and we're going to go to other. We can filter here in as case, and case is always half a ton for inner sphere mechs. So we're going to go to assign criticals, and we're going to assign case to the right torso. Just going to swap those around. Case you can't hit anyway. You can't. Sometimes this isn't so easy to move around. Let's just remove that. Put that back in there. Okay, so we've got a cased thing here. Maybe we want case on this side as well because we've got the SRM streak ammunition. So let's go and add in another case. It'll be another half ton. And let's put it on this side. And there we are. We've got a full allocation, and we need to go back and update the armor. So I'm going to auto allocate armor. So we've got 9 tons of standard armor, all allocated and spread out. So to go back through our mech design, we've got the SPR4R. We've kept the movement the same. It's now standard technology, still inner sphere. Tech date of 3050. We're going to have a look later at doing like a 3067 update. We've kept it as all the basic things like the bipedal. We've updated its structure to ender steel. We've given it an XL engine. which can be bad because if you lose a torso, that means your mech's destroyed, because that's 3 engine hits. We've got a standard gyro, we've got a standard cockpit, and we're not putting in any extra modifiers here, and we've upgraded to double heat sinks. So again, this is a pretty mean mech. It's pretty optimized. Some people would still get rid of the machine gun. I like having the machine gun. I play too many games with infantry to not have a machine gun unit. And we've got 4 medium pulse lasers. Heat load, we're looking at like 16 heat for the 4 medium pulse lasers. And if they fire 2 heat each for the SRM2s, so slightly less output of SRMs, but they only fire if you hit and jump. So this thing's still going to overheat if it jumps and fires all its weapons. If we look down at the calculations, we can see that it tells us how much heat it could maximally produce if it jumps full and fires all its weapons. It's BV, so its BV is going to be more expensive than the previous version by over 100. Its cost though, and cost is overlooked in BattleTech a lot. If you're going to be playing campaigns where you're using C-bills and actually buying things, it's actually not a bad balancing mechanic to say you've got a certain amount of money to spend rather than you've got a certain amount of BV to spend. You have to then find a different way of rolling randomly your pilots. But the cost here is double. It's like 6.7 million C-bills, which is just less than double what it would cost for the IntroTech version. You can also, and I'll show you this, you can also set a fluff image. So if you click on here, you can browse for an image which ideally you should put in this folder, and you should call the image by the name of the mech. So you can call it springbok.png, and it will then automatically use that as the image. Or you can just use an image from something else. You can sketch something of your own. There are lots of different ways. It's also possible if you are printing mech sheets to add in, and this is something I only just learned recently, you can basically take an image from the sana.net of a particular mech, and you can put it in here as a PNG and give it the name of the unit, like a Battlemaster, and it will instantly look it up for that particular mech and add it to the record sheet. But just to show you, if I click on Assassin, say I wanted it to look like the Assassin because it's the same weight, I'm going to open that here, and now if I go to export our new mech, so export to PDF current unit, and open that for you, you should see that the image there has updated. Let's just get that open. There we go. So we've replaced that with our image, and that works quite well. So last thing we're going to look at then is just to save this, and we'll go to File, and Save As rather than Save, to make sure we're saving it into a different file name. So it's now the 4R, and we'll click Save, and we are done, and that's gone into our custom build folder. If you download a new version of MegaMek, don't delete the previous version until you've moved your custom folder from your previous version over, because otherwise you'll end up deleting all of your custom mechs. And don't just overwrite the files. It's best to install it as a completely new folder, and then move across your saved files. Next time we're going to look at how to update that, maybe with some more advanced technology. We'll go up to the advanced thing, look at some of the technology from the tech manual, tech ops. So adding some additional different bits and pieces there, which we could do, and have a look at that. And then the idea is to go on and have a look at a clan OmniMech version, or maybe even an Inner Sphere OmniMech version of this. Until then, I'll see you next time.